Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. In this video I'm going to be changing the tail lights on a 2011 Audi A6. I'm not an Audi man, don't really know a great deal about Audis, but I'm going to try this for the first time, so come and join me on the video. First things first, let's check out the condition of these tail lights. So if we look at the outer tail light, you can see it looks like it's been kind of sanded or oxidized at some point. It's definitely had some kind of a mechanical abrasion done to it, but the most obvious thing is there's a crack running along the length of the tail light, and that crack's causing condensation to get in, which isn't ideal. It's not an MOT fail, the brakes, so the brake lights, sorry, they still work. Same thing here. It's had some form of repair done to it, with a crack on the inner tail light. And then if we hop over to the other side, the inner tail light on the left has a bit of a chip and a crack in it. Again, there's been something done, probably been wet sanded badly at some point. And the outer tail light again is cracked. So the car itself doesn't show any signs of an accident or accident repair. I've been hands-on with it over the last couple of weeks. But this kind of indicates to me that the lights have been hit. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? It's time to replace them. And here's a replacement kit which I have bought off eBay. Yep, RIP. Praising God. Do all those things. Fingers crossed it works. I'll pop the camera on tripod now and you can watch me unboxing it. If that's not your thing, just skip ahead and you can watch me attempt to try and fit them. Alright, so we've got the tail lights here, the inner and the outer, for the left hand side. Looks in pretty good condition. Obviously I bought it brand new, so I'd expect it to be brand new. It's not OEM equipment, but hey, here's what it is. So if I'm just kind of looking at the back of these, checking that everything seems to be in order, but I'm also trying to get clues as to how to fit them. And if I look at the inner tail light, this electrical connector seems to be fixed in place. It's on a bracket, you can just see it there, which seems like it could slide off if you really need it to, but the fitment's that way. It doesn't look like this nut should come off, and I can't see any other screws or bolts to secure it into place, which would indicate this might be a tricky one to fix into place. Now let's look at the back of the inner one. Straight away I can see that looks like it needs to come off, and that's the electrical plug. Other than that, it seems pretty well sealed. I'm not sure why there's a plastic cap on that, but I'll take it, might take it off and have a look. But usually the easiest way to figure it out is take the existing one off first, and then you'll get a better idea. So let's pop the covers off and see what we find out. Alright, so before pulling anything off, on this left hand side I noticed that there's a plastic cover which seems to be not integral to the light fitting, but it seems to be part of the assembly. And if you just pry gently with your finger, you might be able to just see in the gap there, there's a plastic grommet, and if you gently pull on the plastic grommet, that comes out of place. I think that's required here. I'm trying not to mess around with this too much because I don't want to break it, and because the new one doesn't come with one of these, looks like it needs to be a swap rather than a replace. Now if we come round to the back, so sitting here at an awkward angle, this pops off, take that off there, and then that looks like the back of the other light where there was the screw and the nut. That to me looks like where that goes. I could take all of this off to get a better view, but I'm not sure it's necessary. Plus, got to thread it through that hole there, There's another one to take off there. And in all honesty, I'd just rather not do that. So I'm going to try and manipulate this, and if that's a screw hole, see if I can unscrew it. Let's give it a go. Well, I don't know if you heard that pop in the other video, but classic case of what not to do. I was really careful with that grommet there, however, pulled a little bit too hard and I have broken the plastic tab which goes on the bottom of there. Not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. I should be able to fix that with some super glue, if I have super glue, he says. But hey, that's life, isn't it? You do it, you figure it out. Probably should have watched somebody else's YouTube video first, but hey ho, I like to learn the hard way. So now if we spin this round, we've got another view of what this looks like now without the plastic moulding in place. Over the cobweb. Can't see much more from there. This obviously came off when I was unscrewing. So I can feel that the screw and the thread from the back, but I'm not sure because I haven't looked in yet. Camera was in the way as to whether there's another nut securing in place, because at the moment that's not budging. So I'm going to give it another try. So I figured out why I can't get the light fitting to move, and if I can get the angle of the torch right, just there you can see. Get the light on it right there. You can just see that the nut, which is holding the light fitting into place, is on the reverse side of the chassis. And I'm not entirely sure why they've done that. I don't think it'll focus, or how to get access to that to rotate it and unscrew it. But yeah, that's a problem I'm going to figure out now. Back in a second. Okay, so it's really easy. I had a complete brain fart moment there. It feels quite secure, but if you get a panel puller or some kind of trim tool and you pry it into there, push like that, and it slides out. Try to do it one-handed, there we go. And then the only thing holding it in place is the electrical plug, which needs to come off next. So I will do that. Also, learn from my mistake. I removed the grommet here from that sort of rubber fairing, whatever you want to call it. But you don't need to remove the bottom part of that. You just need to remove the top part where the white grommet was. And then pry it on the left and the whole housing comes out. Cool, so off comes the plug next. Well, isn't this fun? Just as I'm trying to remove the rubber plug, tilted the light. Look how much water's coming out of that. That is ridiculous. It's still going. I have to say, impressive electronics that they weren't damaged or there was no short circuit with that amount of water flowing around in there. Anyway, back to the task at hand. Okay, I just quickly paused the video recording there and the refit to show you why you have to use the little pry tool to pop the light out. And again, there's I don't know the technical word for it, but there's 2 rubber grommets there, and there's the female parts there, and they're kind of slot in place as a push fit to stop the taillight wiggling around and show it's a snug fit. So they're kind of what you're prying out there. But just thought I'd quick pause and show you guys that one. Okay, back to business. Something else which I got wrong was, if you remember earlier on in the video, I took off the nut which became part of the assembly with that long screw. Turns out it's not a fastener screw. Realise that now. It's actually there as the backstop to prevent the light from going too far into the body and having a huge panel gap there where all the water goes in. It's a disaster. So effectively, you can see I've popped it back on and I've tried to match where it goes with the existing light. You just hand screw on screw there. So I'm going to try and refit it now. Alright, so that looks like one side's done now. Whoever designs plastic trims on cars, there's a special place in hell for you guys. Honest to God. Never goes right. But that looks like it's fit to me. I will obviously do a test at some point, check whether the brake lights are working. But yeah, that's that one done. Now I'm going to move on to the inner one and then do the other side. So I want to take this trim piece off on the boot lid to try and get to the inside of the tail light fittings. Just under here there's 2 screws there, 2 screws on the other pull handle. I think that's what needs to come off. There doesn't look like there's any other fasteners securing them in place. Doesn't look like you pull them off, so I'm going to remove both screws from the pull handles and see if I can get it off that way. Probably had a good giggle watching me struggle with that. Finally figured it out, and bloody typical automotive trim. It's these pressure fits, whatever you want to call them, spring clips, and I know I'm going to have a hard time getting them back on. But hey ho, that's the fun when you go through. Let's slot into those gaps there. Good luck getting it back in. Right, so disassembly of this looks fairly straightforward. I think pull out the pull out the electrical connector, remove that nut there, and probably pry this out here. Famous last words, but let's give it a go. So I was wrong again. You don't need to take the nut off unless you're trying to save this wiring loom here and you need to reuse it. actually what you just do is push and the whole assembly pops out. I kind of got an inkling that I was wrong when I looked at the new one which I bought, which has the same kind of harness fitted to it. So yeah, there's the old one, there's the new one. Just give it a quick clean. Moving on to the other side now, that one's been done. So yeah, that bolt, once you remove it, it basically takes off. There's like a cradle here, and on the cradle there's 3 flanges which keep this secure in place. It's a little bit misleading because actually the light that's already fitted, you don't need to take the cradle off to pop it out, and so you kind of think, alright, well the new one then, is it a push fit? It's not. You still have to get the cradle off the new one fully to get it to stay in place. You'll see what I mean in a second. Okay then, last but not least, this outer one, I'll try not to repeat the mistake I made on the other side. Famous last words. I don't know if you can see this, but as I'm trying to take this off, right like the other one, this whole thing's just chipping away into it. There we go. If you can just about see that on the camera, how it started to break. There we go. Fabulous. And there you have it. 2 outer, 2 inner tail lights fitted. And you saw the raw video. You saw me mess it up. You saw me get it right. Completely unfiltered. Job's a good one. One last thing to do, just double check, test that they're all working. I hope you found that somewhat useful. I had fun doing it, even if it was frustrating at times. I hope you learned from my mistakes as well. I will try and put any additional tips that I can think of under the relevant parts when I upload as well. But yeah, thanks guys. If you really could give us a like, share and subscribe if you found that useful, really appreciate it. Thank you.